boy, am I glad to see you. I tell you, I've had to do a few news videos with Andrew recently, and he has gone absolutely bonkers. He's slagging off people all the time, so it's nice to see a friendly face for once. Sam. Happy Saturday, mate.
He can be horrible. There's days where, you're not around, and he'll just come up to me and he'll just dangle bits of food in my face that he's eating. Like, he'll take a bite out of, like, I don't know, like a Snickers or something, and then he'll just sort of rub it against my skin. Like,
he's
I'm
awful,
just against my forehead.
Apparently
or something.
he's been dressing up as me and going around kicking homeless people in Newcastle.
Oh.
It's just not on. It's out of order. Anyway,
I knew there had to be something up there. Like, I knew that wasn't your sort of behaviour.
Too good to be true, right?
Yeah.
Andrew, not me kicking. Let's get on with the news, shall we? A big name is said to be hesitant to sign with AEW due to reported heat between EVPs. Randy Orton has commented on his retirement plans. And sad news as New Jack has passed away aged 58. So we are kicking things off with, I guess, a bit of an update to a story that we covered last week. We got a bit of flack for it because there were rumours circulating that there is heat. There is some sort of big disagreement between EVPs and AEW. It's not specified exactly who, but the story goes that Cody was working a mid-card feud and sort of being kept off being the elite due to these disagreements with, you would have to assume, Kenny and the Bucks. We don't know who's on what side, what this even really is all about. But we've got a really interesting update to this story, and it's been backed up a few times in the last week as well. This comes from Wade Keller and Jason Powell of PW Torch. What are they saying?
So Wade Keller said, they were on their podcast, and they said, Wade started with, there's going to be a book written someday by some of these EVPs or someone else closely observing, and we're going to learn a lot about a lot of dysfunction. We're going to learn what a very short honeymoon period there was between certain key people in the company who aren't even talking to each other anymore. He goes on to say, I know there are people in other wrestling companies saying the Bucks and Cody and Kenny, it's not going to be long before they all want to have nothing to do with each other. And then Jason Powell added, there's a would-be difference maker who would go there that has that opinion that there's still all this infighting, and this person, for that reason, is hesitant to go there.
So it's a potential big name signing here. Yeah. Somebody that, as they say, a difference maker to AEW. A big deal who obviously knows about this supposed fighting between the EVPs, and again, we don't know the specifics here. It's really interesting that this story last week, a lot of people, and we said it ourselves, we're like, well, take this with a pinch of salt. Yeah. But I've heard more and more this week, lots of people backing this up. Any idea who that difference maker could be? I don't. It's got to be somebody close to the situation, or close enough to know what's going on at that level in AEW. Yeah.
And that's it, but it's got to be somebody who's wanting actively to jump from another company if it's a difference maker as well. So it's going to be an unhappy
or it
star.
Could be a free agent.
It could be a free agent. You are right. Yeah, it's such a strange situation. But there are so many names, especially people that have left WWE recently, that could be such a difference maker and would have friendships and connections with people in the company.
What we're saying here is, EVPs, if you're watching this right now, cut out the squabbling, because we all want to see Ryback in AEW. We've been waiting for it for a long time. But if you don't stop the bloody tantrums, we're not going to get any bloody Ryan Reeves full stop. Yeah. Up next, a bit of a new gimmick, or a gimmick, an old gimmick coming back, it seems, as the King of Strong Style returned on last night's episode of SmackDown after doing a bit of pilfering. He's robbed King Corbin's crown, Sam.
Yeah, so he hit rock bottom last night. He went, from his glory days all the way back when, and now he lost to King Corbin on SmackDown. But he went a bit mental afterwards. He attacked Corbin, he stole the crown, put it on, and then post post SmackDown, they did a WWE.com exclusive. You know, those videos that go up on YouTube, not WWE.com. They put one up, and it was a video of Nakamura posing in a mirror first, and he was kind of grunting and talking to himself and saying things like, yeah, like, I'm the real king, the king of strong style, I'm back, I'm finally back. And then it cut to him doing a photo shoot with the crown. So the beforehand as well, before the match, they aired a video of Nakamura kind of going off on Corbin a little bit, saying, you know, well, I'm the king of style and you are the king of the ring, but there's only room for one king and all the standard stuff. So they're just going to supplant Corbin's gimmick, give it to Nakamura, and call it the King of Strong Style. Could you imagine that?
You know what? I'm actually really up for this. I'm really up for this because Nakamura is a guy who can make even the naffest gimmick work. There's something unfathomably cool about Nakamura. And it's not that I haven't enjoyed King Corbin, although I haven't really enjoyed King Corbin. But Nakamura, with that crown, he'll make that into something really special if they do go with that. Or we might just get a little feud between Corbin and Nakamura where he has to get his heart back, like Bret Hart's jacket. Yeah,
I mean, the whole thing with Corbin is that he's a big dork that thinks he's a lot more important than he is, but he has been the king for a very long time now. So it would be nice to see something fresh for Corbin to move forward with, because the guy deserves another break. He's clearly impressing people enough that he's on SmackDown every week. So
I think he's a good heel because there's nothing cool or likable about Corbin. He just does his job. Nobody wants to get behind Corbin, and I think there are far too many cool or funny or like people that you are quite likable heels in wrestling. Corbin, there's nothing like about him. The guy's just a bellend, and I can get behind that. Speaking of SmackDown, new champions crowned. Ross is no doubt still going absolutely bozo right now.
He's halfway around the world.
More importantly, Tamina are your new women's tag team champions. Tamina hitting Nia with the splash for the win. She got the big pinfall. This is Tamina's first proper title in her 11-year run with the company. She held the 24/7 title. Remember that? Just for a little bit.
For under one night.
good for her. You know what?
Honestly,
this is probably the run of her career right now, and she's actually turned into quite an entertaining character. I'm not a bigger Tamina fan as Ross is. That's for sure. I don't think anyone is. But you know what? I can enjoy what she's doing right now.
I just hope that they capitalize on it. They give them a bit of a push, and they really assert them as a dominant team. Because even then, when you take the belts off them, you will still have them as a dominant team. But we just got to wait and see. But yeah, it's nice to see that Tamina's finally got something. Natty, though, just when we get to the match finish, Tamina hits the splash, obviously, but Natty gets Samoan dropped by Nia. It was actually quite nice. So Nia hits the Samoan drop, and then Tamina just immediately, as soon as Nia hits the floor, just comes in with the splash. And it was like awesome, out of nowhere, kind of. She was already up there, but it was kind of out of nowhere for Nia. She wasn't expecting that, so it was good.
It's great. Good for them.
Shayna and Nia can now go, boo! And Shayna can get back to doing some good stuff.
Yeah, if they let her. Just you wait. Probably bloody Tamina and Natty will be broken up next week. We're speaking too soon here, aren't we? We'll see. Going over to the Raw side of things now. Raw superstar discussing his retirement plans and a few other interesting things. We're talking about Randy Orton, who has been a guest on this week's Kurt Angle show. And he said, as far as what he wants for himself in the future, he said, I kind of see myself being WWE for life. I don't know why I would go anywhere else. So, I mean, he caused a bit of controversy a little while ago when he started teasing that he was going to go to AEW. But that was just a way of getting a bit more cash, wasn't it? What's gone on there?
You must give permission to connect your device to this TV.
Go on, give it permission, Sam.
I don't know. Who's trying to connect to the TV?
That's weird, isn't it? Randy Orton has said that he's going to be WWE for life until he does retire. No news on when he sort of plans on doing so. Some interesting comments about Cena and Batista as well here.
Yeah, so he brings up the fact that he enjoys acting, but he doesn't see Hollywood as his full-time thing. He's not really a Hollywood-type person. He says, I love sending in my auditions almost monthly, but yeah, as I said, I'm not trying to move to Hollywood or New York to become a full-time actor. The way Cena did it, the way Batista did it, they used WWE as a jumping board to go into Hollywood. I think I'm happy with my place in the WWE right now. The money's good, the talent's good, the locker room's great, I have a good relationship with all the people in charge, and I don't see why I changed that. And also, he adds, at 41, I can honestly say, if I'm on a contract where I'm able to still wrestle a handful of years, possibly as I'm a 50-year-old man, I would love to do that. But his wife has promised to tell him if he ever becomes a parody of himself. So his wife is the person who's ultimately going to decide when Randy's career is done.
It's all up to Mrs. Viper.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I agree. I think he might have been a little bit unfair. Maybe it's just the wording on the Cena and Batista stuff. Because I don't think Cena and Batista came in intending to go to Hollywood and use WWE. It's the using that I'm not too sure about. Because, I mean, Cena was there for bloody ages. Batista a little time less, sure.
Yeah.
But who can blame him as well, getting paid loads of money for not putting your body on the line?
Getting the stuntman in to do it for you, and you get to stand there and just have a coffee. Yeah.
Right.
It must be amazing as a
lads.
pro wrestler who's moved into acting and just be able to go, I don't have to take a bump. I can just stand.
Orton, if his wife lets him, is going to be doing it for the foreseeable, that's for sure. We're finishing off with some really sad news. This broke late last night. New Jack, ECW original, the original gangster, has passed away at the age of 58 following a heart attack in North Carolina, where he'd lived in recent years. It's a really, really sad story. New Jack is obviously a very, very controversial person in wrestling. You've been watching a lot of like New Jack shoot interviews and stuff recently, haven't you? You've been talking about those.
Yeah, it really took me by surprise because I've been watching quite a lot. I watched a fairly recent one where he seemed like he just had everything together, and it was really nice. And he just seemed on the level, and I was like, yeah, that was like good on you for that. But yeah, it's just New Jack's had a pretty tumultuous childhood, and he entered the wrestling world not quite sure of himself, and it wouldn't be until he got to like Smoky Mountain Wrestling, Jim Cornette would come up with the whole gangsters thing, and he'd be like, I want you to go out there and offend as many white people as possible. And then from that point onwards, New Jack became, I'd argue, one of the best workers in the sense that New Jack was always New Jack was always New Jack. Like, there was no off button.
You knew what you were getting, that's for sure.
You knew what you were getting.
Did you? But it was also very unpredictable.
But, like, New Jack was, when he was around anybody, like, in front of any sort of camera, the only times that you will see him and convention, he's New Jack. That's who he is. And I feel like, yeah, he was always kind of the gateway, wasn't he? For me especially, I felt that like it was the first rumbling of a name on the wind I'd never heard, and it was like, you need to check out New Jack stuff. And it's almost like a rite of passage, or at least it was, I guess, for our generation to eventually get round to seeing New Jack and all of the things he got up to and being like, how is this possible? How is this? Why is he saying that? There's no one like
him, right?
Who is he? He's completely unique.
Very unique individual. That's for sure. Love him or hate him, there is nobody like New Jack. A few wrestlers, in fact a lot of wrestlers have tweeted commenting on the passing of New Jack. Steve Corino saying, New Jack was always good to me. He told me that since Jack Victory liked me, he would put up with me. We used to do these crazy 8-man teams in ECW. Yeah. Jack would always be last, and I would get goosebumps when that music hit. Absolutely iconic, without a doubt. Then pray I wasn't getting the crutch that night. Thank you, Jack. Adam Pearce, I didn't share a ton of locker rooms with New Jack, but when I did, it was never dull. I'll always remember the first time I met him in California. Let's just say it was eventful. Rest well, Jack. Godspeed. Tommy Dreamer, there will never be anyone like the OG gangster New Jack. Fought with him, against him, always straight up with me. Prayers for his family. Rest in peace. And Taz, fearless and passionate performer. My condolences and prayers to the family of New Jack. And we echo what Taz has said there. We are
I've got another one really quickly. It's my favourite one that I saw, and it's just proper nice, and it's from the Blue Meanie. It's one time ECW ran in Canada. New Jack walked in to the amazement of people in the locker room. Someone said to him they were shocked that he was able to cross the border. I'm just going to cover that up. And then without like stopping, he said, he just immediately fired back, "Man, that water was cold," and the entire locker room just popped. But yeah.
There you go. We send our love, our condolences to the friends and family of New Jack. Take care of yourselves. See you in a bit.